Hello! In today's Archaeoscoop, I'm feeling much better. Thank you so much for your kind messages. And my top 3 headlines are as follows. Headline number 1 comes from the realms of online. And therefore I'm not quite sure what I'll tag in the map. Have to wait and see, I guess. But it's specifically to do with an article that was published in an open access journal called Anthropology, and in turn led to a news story on the popular Archaeology website. It's to do with the possibility that researchers may have been up to 8 years out in their calculations when it came to the Mayan calendar, which infamously led to the 2012 phenomenon last year. This phenomenon, this key moment, supposedly actually could have happened in 2004 rather than 2012, and therefore we may have lived through it without even knowing it. Now, the article's author goes on to make some interesting claims linked with 2004, that there are astronomical alignments, a burst of gamma radiation, potentially earthquakes and other disasters linked with with this time, and therefore maybe it was a real prediction event going on. But more than this, I think this article is interesting because it highlights that what we're dealing with are calculations and research, just because it's been accepted for a few decades that 2012 was the big year, we may well have actually been 8 years out. It's a possibility, and therefore I find it fascinating that the 2012 phenomenon may well have been a psychological phenomenon as much as anything else, and that we'd actually lived through it 8 years previously without really knowing. So it's an interesting possibility, and I thought it was worthwhile highlighting. So that's headline number 1, and in the body of the text for the news story there's a link to Anthropology, and you should be able to find the article itself on their website too, so check those out. So that's headline number 1. Headline number 2 comes from Berkshire and Kingsmead Quarry, where some Neolithic houses have been discovered. They're being touted as being the oldest housing development in southern England, and consist of a series of post holes outlining some square houses. They date from the Neolithic, around 3700 BC, and were found by Wessex Archaeology. And therefore I've also included a link to their in effect press release, because it's got some great reconstructions on that piece as well. So there you go, that's headline number 2. Headline number 3 is actually linked with Wessex Archaeology, and they're probably their most famous archaeologist, if not one of the most famous archaeologists in the whole world, or certainly Britain, a guy called Phil Harding. Now, Phil Harding last week won Archaeologist of the Year, the current Archaeology Awards, and I thought, despite the fact that there are some very serious headlines out there with regards to heritage at risk, and also very interesting news stories, I thought I'd highlight this one just because I like Phil Harding, and I wanted to share his glory with you all. So check out headline number 3 for more on his award, but also reactions to other people winning other awards, including, for example, Research Excavation of the Year, this kind of thing. So that's headline number 3. So for those headlines and all the other headlines from the past few days, check out the links below as ever to read to your heart's content, there for your delectation and delight. So there you go, enjoy, and until next time, bye bye.